Welcome back to this episode of the Firmon Foundation podcast. I am your host, Alana Qualls, aka Iconic. And today we have a very special guest with us by the name of Marlon Platt. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Friday. It's Friday. It's a good day. It's warm weather. We're getting 60-degree weather in November, so all is good. All is well.
7 p.m. Friday. Okay.
Not quite 95,
It's not quite 95.
It's not snowing either, so we good.
Well, I'm happy that you were able to join us today. I appreciate you. So now I've known Marlon for a very long time. We met
15 years.
Yep,
08, 09.
about 14, 15 years ago. So at the time, I recently crossed because I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and he is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So at the time, a lot of the bros were they embraced us. They were at Ohio State's campus a lot because we actually did not have bros on campus. So very quickly, we all formed friendships, and I just always appreciated how the Oro boys just look out for us, and Marlon's just a great person.
Yeah, we spent probably too much time at OSU.
Yeah,
I know for me specifically, people were like, "Oh, what dorm you stay in? Or what class you got?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't go to school here." Yeah. So, I consider myself an honorary Buckeye. I got Buckeye Ds. I got all kind of stuff. I know all the dorms, but I probably should have spent some more time on my own campus. I probably would have had a better GPA. All that good stuff. Probably wouldn't have did an extra semester if I had been on campus.
Yeah, I mean, what you should have done is just got another degree at Ohio State as much as y'all were up there.
Nah.
No. I was just about to say, like, your Buck ID, people's coming up for you. Marlon, let me get some swipes.
Oh yeah.
Go to Marketplace.
I was in Marketplace, and Burritos legend.
Yes.
I was good with the swipes.
Burritos, no shit.
Yeah,
oh,
Burritos. See, that's how you know I'm real.
Yes.
Like I was been there.
You should not know our campus that well.
Well, that was the thing. Not to get too far off subject, but
sure.
At the time, this is how far. I'll go back to OSU. OSU was on, y'all were on quarters.
Yes, we were still on quarters.
And Capital was on semesters. So we would be done with school,
then
kind of stay in Columbus, hang out for like 2-3 more weeks,
right.
Go to OSU. Everybody swipes renewed at the beginning of the quarter. So you just down there getting free meals for about a week or so. So definitely a Burritos fan.
So you had a plan.
I had a plan.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
No, it was usually one.
Just
people
the lunch.
Yeah, middle of the day, I can get through and get some food.
Yeah. Well, quickly, I wanted to give my brief introduction and take on Marlon, and then I'll allow him to do that himself. So to me, over the years and knowing Marlon for so long and everything that he does, I've been, like, people have told me before, like, Lana, you're a whole vibe. Like, I love your energy. Like, you just give off good energy. You're fun to be around. But to me, Marlon is like a vibe curator, literally.
It's a good title.
He's a vibe curator. He is a connector of people, literally. And what I have observed over the years with everything he does, from his restaurants to the bar to his events, Marlon Anthony events, is his events are fun, they're vibey, and they're safe, and it feels like family.
Yeah.
So what I have observed, while all those things are true, is that people don't necessarily come for the event or the place. They come because of Marlon's energy and how passionate he is about what he does. People love being around good energy.
That's true.
And that includes me as well. So I appreciate you for that. And that's, like I said, I've just seen such an evolution of Marlon the man, and he was a man back then, I was a woman, but we were younger in college. So now this evolution and growth has been something really special to see, and it's been something I've always admired about you and everything you're doing. So, and I know your community that you have built and everyone that attends your events and has been involved with anything you've done appreciates that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of something, college, you really spend a lot of time figuring out yourself.
Yes.
Everybody comes to college for the most part, 17, 18, you're a legal adult, but you don't really have much in terms of like lived experiences.
Right.
And so for me, college, yeah, you're going to get an education, but hindsight being 2020, it's more the lived experiences that teach you the most.
Absolutely.
They teach you about your strong characteristics. They teach you about what circles of people that you want to be around and who you don't want to be around.
That's right.
And then for me, you know, college was about just connecting with people. You know, class was something I had to do just to stay in college, but mine was more so like building the relationships, learning things outside of the classroom, and experiencing life in those. Well, I was gonna say 4 years, but I did 4.5. And then, like you said, even not just now with homecoming just passing, you see people who you know met 10, 15 years ago, and you see how they've evolved. You know, family people, business owners, working professionals. Just a number of different things. So yeah, you're right. You know, in context, you are, you know, a man or a woman. But now it's like the grown age. It's like the matured age. Yeah, you see, we get into the season situations, and so that's one of the good things that you know people live a lot of life, and you got to enjoy it. So do something you want to do while you're here. So I like that part of life.
And you definitely seem like you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to. So let's do like a quick little icebreaker. I'll call it rapid fire. Okay. So first thing that's top of mind, answer however you like to answer. If you had to choose, what music or artist would be your pick as the soundtrack or song for your life up to this point?
I thought you was gonna say just in general. Boo. That's a good question. Let's just, I don't know. You could say Drake. I just like all the Drake's like music. You know, Beef Battle, Kendrick Lamar, all that stuff. Lost is cool. You can find a Drake track that summarizes every piece of your life. I would say you could probably do the same with Jay-Z, but I'm not as much of a Jay-Z fan as I am a Drake fan. But Drake got a little bit of like Loverboy stuff. He got a little bit of like We Out Here Kicking It. He got a little bit of, you know, island vibes on vacation. You know, toes in the sand. So I would say Drake. That's probably an easy cop-out answer.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. Favorite thing to do at the gym and why?
I really like pushing the sled at the gym, which is probably not a popular answer. If you would probably ask me like 6 or 8 months ago, it was probably like bench press or something like that. But sled push is really like a test of your character because a lot of times it's at the end of the workout. You done already did a whole bunch of different stuff. And it's a strength building and also like conditioning exercise. So at my elder age, I've come to love the sled. Elder age.
Yes. So I forgot to preface it with Marlon is like a gym star like me. Like he does not play about the gym, going to the gym. We're both very involved in the gym and take it seriously and understand the connection between your mental health in the gym obviously your physical health so you can be your best self. So that's why I'm asking gym questions because we're both into the gym. What's the most irritating thing people do at the gym that annoys you?
Dog, it's a list.
Yes. Right?
It's a list. Sometimes people train or even if they don't have trainers, when people take up like multiple stations or multiple pieces of equipment that don't even, you know, they're not even close to each other.
I'm doing a superset.
I'm doing, you know, dips and I'm doing pull-ups and I'm doing, it's like, bro, that's not even like an efficient thing.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably my biggest thing is people come to the gym or the people that just come to the gym and they spend so much time like on the phone, talking, on the phone.
Right.
That's why I really don't have a workout partner because I don't want to get caught up in the conversation. I got 45, 50, 60 minutes. So that's it.
I actually prefer to work out alone. Like I love it. I have worked out with people, but I really get in my zone. I have my headphones on. I'm blasting my music. Like I don't really like being bothered. Like that's my, outside of going to therapy, like to talk to a therapist, like that's my therapy as well. So I really lock in when I'm in the gym. And I've even had like people, because they recognize me because I go so much, they're just like, yeah, I want to come say hi before, like, but you just really like locked in. I'm like, yeah.
And that's me. That's me too. Even like when I see other people who I may know at the gym who may have a trainer, people like I thought we was cool. I thought we could talk. Like you look so upset. I'm like, no, like you paying for your time to be here. And I don't want to interrupt that.
Yeah. It's important. You know, some of us have RBF too, so people, they're intimidated. Can't help how I was born. Okay, moving on. So, Marlon is also a parent like me. So, what's your favorite part about being a dad?
The favorite part about being a dad is regardless of how good or bad your day is going, like your kid is gonna treat you the same way. Yes. So they don't have like this bias of like, oh, you know, dad did this, dad did that. He had a good day, he had a bad day. Your kids just kind of love you the same. And especially, you know, after typically some of the longer, not so favorable days, it's good to come home and have like that peace with your kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nipsey once said, "How do kids spell love? Time."
Very much.
It's true.
Very true.
I agree with that completely. So, what made you want to become an entrepreneur?
I think figuring out early in college, like that I had like an affinity for like people and like events. And then, you know, even with that, it was an opportunity to still work a professional day job. My actual first internship in events was right outside here at the State House. And so just figuring out that I could do that and also still do things on my own time. And it wasn't necessarily about money. It was more so just about finding a craft that you're very passionate about. And from there, it kind of spilled over into other aspects of hospitality or entertainment, whatever you may call it.
Yes, that's your niche. That's your lane. You found your lane.
Yeah. Professional people person is what I would say on whatever
I love that
spectrum that may be, whether it's events, whether it's, you know, hanging out, engaging people online, whether it's making content, you know, stuff that can be reshared and recycled and allow other people to showcase their gifts. But definitely just the association with people has always been my thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. If you had to sum up who you are and what you are about in 3 words, just 3, I know that's probably difficult, but
does it have to be it have to be a sentence or just 3 separate words?
Let's say 3 separate, or they can be isolated words or related words. Just 3 words. What comes to mind?
I would say servant, leader, and father.
Elaborate on servant, because I know you're also spiritual and a man of God as well. Yeah, so
very strong in the faith space. Definitely not just serving God, but how that translates to like serving the community. And you know, your greatest purpose lies outside of yourself, and it's not what you can do for yourself, but what you can do for other people. Father, obviously, like just being a dad, like I realized even more so recently, like being a dad is a big part of like who I am.
Jesus.
And just spending so much time, you know, with kids and just being like, I'm learning stuff about myself as well as I'm learning, you know, about, you know, who my kids are. And I forgot, what was my 3rd one?
You said servant.
I said father, servant, leader. I said leader.
Yes.
And so I think that ties back for me. I'm very big on like leadership. Like my dad was very big on leadership, big sports guy. So I played sports, high school and in college. So, you know, those build leadership skills. But very fond of the idea that leaders lead from the front. And it's not necessarily you calling yourself a leader, but more so the actions and the intangible qualities that you possess. And I'm a firm believer, I got it tatted on my arm, that, you know, the greatest among you will be, you know, a servant. So those that lead are actually servants.
Absolutely.
In that form. So, yeah.
And servants are leaders. Leaders are servants. And there's always people watching who maybe haven't reached that level or that position yet of understanding what truly being a servant is about in all facets.
Very much so. I think people get a lot more, and this is a conversation deeper for another day, but people get a lot more out of your actions and out of your characteristics than the things that you say.
Absolutely.
And so, like, you know, even in Greek life, like people will always tell us when we cross, like you shouldn't have to tell everybody that you're an alpha.
That's right.
Like they should find out later and be like, okay, now that makes sense.
Yes.
So I don't have to go out here and wear a jacket or a hat or a keychain or whatever it is. The characteristics I exemplify. Same with being a you know, dad. Same with being a, you know, a man of God. I don't have to go out here and carry a Bible and read scriptures to let you know that.
Correct.
So it's really about the way that you carry yourself and the way that you live.
Because you're a representative.
Exactly.
And when you are a representative of God, me being a mom, and also, like you said, Greek, you're not necessarily seeking validation. The things that you say, how you move with people, how you respect and treat people, all of those are going to say, oh, okay, she is this. Oh, okay, Marlon is that. Makes sense now. It's all aligned.
People going to figure out who you are through your actions more so than your words.
Yeah, because people can talk all day.
People can talk all day.
Now, when you look back at all the things you've done your business ventures, and also all the things you are doing, things you've been a part of, or your current jobs and pursuits. I mean, we're talking Our Bar, Marvin's Restaurant and Lounge. You wrote a book, and
I wrote a book.
It's on Amazon. Marlon Anthony Events,
yep.
which is also your company, hosting financial workshops for the community, which you're doing a lot with your current position. Orange Soda events, our Run Club,
yep.
and also partnering with me at one point for my real estate iconic networking events at
Homebuyer,
your restaurant.
Homebuyer Happy Hour was going.
Homebuyer Happy Hour. And with all of those things, what drives Marlon's passion to keep going and to do all that he does? Who is the man behind the hustle? That's what I'm coining this, because when I was thinking of you, I'm like, Marlon he's a hustler. Like, he does a lot of different things. Like, he's a stand-up guy, but who is the man behind the hustle? What's going through your head? What really drives your passion?
Building community is probably what I would say, like being able to coin that. One of my mentors kind of said, like, you need to really figure out how to like tell your story. And so what's like the elevator pitch of who you are? And I would say building community is probably at the foundational piece of everything that I do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I said, whether it's the Run Club, I don't even run at the Run Club. I've only won runs, which is like I gotta tell people. But
you're filming and stuff too.
I'm filming. I'm organizing, making people got water.
Or you have the baby.
Or have the babies. Yeah, like that's a job in itself. But building community and just figuring out how to make people better collectively, and how do we mobilize specifically Black people. We got a lot of equity gaps in the Black community, and that's been kind of like my career space professionally for the past 10 years. And so how do we leverage these communities that we build to make us better, not just in silo, not just individually, but collectively as a group across the board. So I would definitely say like community building is really drives me. How do we create a business, or how do we create some kind of group that drives that? Right.
I would definitely say community is a word that's synonymous with your name and all your businesses and everything you do. So yeah, that makes complete sense. Now this is multifaceted, okay? So what advice would you give to creatives like us who are trying to find their lane, but they don't necessarily trust themselves to stay in it? Because as you know, people who are entrepreneurs and familiar with putting themselves out there or making the ideas in your mind come to life, everything doesn't always work out. It may or may not be successful. So it's very easy to give up and to just say, this isn't for me. Even if you're passionate about the business, the product, the service, a lot of people don't trust themselves. They don't trust that vision. So what would you say to people who maybe are at that point where they're just like, I'm gonna just give up? No, I don't have the community. I'm not getting the support. I'm not getting the likes. I'm not getting people showing up to the store, the event, or whatever the business is. What would you say to that to keep them encouraged? Because a lot of people give up on their dreams as soon as it doesn't work out. They don't know about the longevity. They haven't been to a place where everything's consistent. They haven't seen that. It's like, okay, it's been a month, nothing's happening, I quit. What do you think about that?
I got a couple quotes. My dude coaches Lyndon McKinley High School, and I may mess this up. His quote for his basketball team is built over time, not overnight. So like keeping that process going, understanding things are going to work out. And then Big Sean had a quote. He said, it took me 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yes. And
so that's one of the things where you got to realize is like there's very few things that are just successful out of the gate immediately and just take off, which leads me to my next point. My biggest thing is just do it. That's like all the time you spending procrastinating, wondering if people going to like it, if you're going to be successful, just do it. Just jump out there and figure it out. But I always tell people it's going to be my suggestion to do something that you truly are passionate about and that you truly do love, because it is going to get hard. It's going to get difficult. If you don't really love something, it's going to be easy just to give it up.
And burn out.
Yeah, burn out. You're going to be like, you really don't do this.
Right.
But if you're doing something that you really love, you're going to be able to be more, have more resilience kind of in those difficult times and really push through. But you just got to know, like, you're just chipping away day by day. You're learning in the process. And even me, I have businesses, but, I have failed businesses. I have things that have gone wrong. Right. And it's not to say that, it's an immediate failure and I'm just done forever, but it's more so of a lesson learned that if I do put my toe back in that water, I'll know what mistakes I made. But you don't get any of that knowledge, institutional knowledge, if you don't do anything. So I would just say just do something and do something that you love consistently.
Yes. It's something that I also have learned firsthand from what some would call a failed business. But I think that we should replace failure with redirection. Mm-hmm. And something I've learned, because I had a brick and mortar store, a clothing store that I ended up closing, and I was really down bad on myself. I mean, I really struggled when I had to close it because I was really passionate about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, God, I prayed to you about it. You told me to do it. I was passionate. I was helping the people. I was realizing some success in a short period of time. I started to build a community, but it wasn't sustainable because this was my first business venture. It obviously cost money to run a business. I was doing everything on my own. I had no help, no financial help, no one teaching me these things. It was what I felt I should do internally along with my education, but I didn't necessarily go to school to start that business. So something I learned was after I had to close that business, it wasn't as much about the business as it was about my own personal growth and development. Yeah. So what I took away was a lot of lessons. I'm way more business savvy. And I have 2 degrees, both a bachelor's and an MBA. However, I said this in another episode, I learned so much about business from just doing it and having that experience firsthand. So even though I had to close the business, that was just a location. Mm-hmm. That business was a shell. The reason people came to my store, similar to what I said at the introduction of this episode, it was because of the person. Exactly. The personality, how you make them feel, the vibe of the store, the energy. So what I took away from that, outside of becoming more business savvy and those lessons and really having more of a top tier approach to serving people, it was really conditioning me for the next stage and level of my life. Exactly. And any other future ventures, and even my development and growth as a woman. It matured me in a way, because I did that, man, I was about 28 or something like that. I'm 36 now. So I did things that a lot of people can't relate to at a young age. So now I'm so much better from those experiences. So in hindsight, I don't look at having to close my store as a failure. It's actually a blessing. Yeah. That has really helped to condition me. And it's a huge part of the reason why I am the way I am today as a woman and more evolved.
And that's a big part of what it is. Always be wary of somebody that's trying to coach or give advice that's never played the game.
Okay.
So
because they do it.
They all do the time. Yeah, people try to do that. People read books. Yes. I will say this time and time again, like I said, similar with college, lived experience is typically the best experience. Now, you can seek mentorship, you can read books, you can do all these different things, but until you are actually in the thick of it, and that's really anything in life, working out, being a parent, whatever it is, people gonna give you all kind of advice. People gave me all kind of parenting advice. It wasn't until I became a parent that I was like, all right, this is where I got to figure out what works for me. Yes. This is where I'm learning my lessons. This is where I'm getting my own time where I'm elated, or my time where I'm frustrated, where I can now understand what my parents were talking about when they said they're tired. It's a whole different kind of tired when you're a parent.
We get it now.
Yeah. It's a completely different kind of tired when you're a parent and you're running a business. Jesus. So having those experiences and kind of reformatting your thinking, redirecting your thinking, as you said, into lessons as opposed to just looking at them as failures is a big component of not only building your business, acumen, but also your personal character.
Right. Now, when we think of our children and people following behind us, what does legacy mean to you?
It's funny because my gym, United Strength, they're actually doing a campaign, like a legacy campaign. So this is going to be one of the questions. But legacy, I would say, is probably meaning more to me day by day. But legacy is essentially what are you leaving people beyond your physical self? Yes. What lessons, what assets, both tangible and intangible, are you leaving with people? What assets are you leaving with your kids as far as, their character and their beliefs? All those things typically come from parents who you're typically around the most. And so I would want my girls to one day grow up and say, my dad taught me how to be resilient. My dad taught me how to be a critical thinker. My dad, I learned from my dad just being a person of faith. And again, not necessarily in the me teaching you standpoint, asking you questions, but by living in that way and having your kids get that firsthand experience from their parent. And so,
yeah.
I
feel like I'm about to cry.
Don't cry.
Because like what you're saying is so true. And I have a close relationship with my dad who passed 9 months ago tomorrow. And everything you're saying is so true. Like I carry so much of what he has taught me. And if people like me, like he has a huge, like it's pretty much because of him and how he raised me. And even like playing so many sports and playing basketball, he kind of treated me like the son. And I'm from, there was 5 girls in the household, but I was that tomboy, and my dad really would redirect my thoughts. Like, yes, we would be playing sports, or he's training me, or we're in the backyard and he's showing me moves or saying, nope, go practice again. But he always would have an application to life as to why he's telling me to do what I should do. We would always have those talks. So also the reason I said I feel like I'm about to cry is because I really do see like this growth. Like back in the day, like we were talking about college, like we all used to meet up and be in Arena District, and we were younger.
I was kicking it.
Right. We still had an idea of what we wanted to do, but I remember being on, I forgot which bar, but a rooftop in Arena District, Marlon and I just having a conversation. I remember him saying, I want to open a bar one day. He talked about some of the things that
we was
he
at
has
Callahan's.
done.
I told a lot of people at Callahan's that I was going to open a bar one day. That was not a one-off conversation.
Yes.
But it was a conversation that I did have with select people. I don't really like showing my hand. So if I give people that kind of information, it's kind of like interesting.
Yes. I remember that too. And you are very modest. Like you do a lot, but you're modest, and your humility is also a testament to exactly what we said. You don't always have to show your hand. You don't always have to say, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Like just keep leading by example, and your actions will speak and say everything they need to. So how do we teach our people, families, communities, Black people, both Black men and women, to not give up on what they're most passionate about?
A lot of times it's not necessarily that people quote unquote want to give up. We become infatuated by the opinion of others. And so we subject ourselves, whether it's through social media or whether it's through interaction, whatever it may be. People expose themselves. That can be a very intimate thing when you're exposing yourself, particularly in something that you're passionate about. Artists talk about, art being passionate. Business is a form of exposure. People can see and come to your business and experience your business. And they may walk in. People walked into our bar. Some people were like, this is great. Some people walked in like, all right, this is it. And it's kind of like, okay, cool.
Probably people who have never opened a bar.
For people that have never
speak to that.
And what I would say is people who have never done anything typically are the biggest critics and the people with the most suggestions or advice.
Sitting on the couch eating potato chips, critiquing you.
And that's it. And I think once you get out of that mindset of caring, I'm not going to say you shouldn't care what anybody thinks, but I would say definitely tighten your scope or your view or what you're receiving from certain people.
Yes.
So don't give everybody, preview to, your opinion matters or what you think matters. Otherwise, you just going to keep falling into the circle of what people think of you and, they're going to see me fail and I don't want to do it. And so I spend a lot of time talking to people about that. People come ask me business stuff all the time. And I'm like, I ain't did nothing but too much of nothing. I said, the biggest thing I can say is like, don't be so infatuated with the opinions of other people that don't really pay you too much.
You're just a person that didn't give up on himself and just kept trying things. And that's when people recognize you're a humble person, because I get this too. And they're like, oh, you did this, and that's so good. And my dad has always said this about me too. He was like, one thing about Lana, you can't keep Lana down. She's going to get back up and try again. She may have a moment, but she's going to move on to the next thing, and she's going to try it and not allow it to get the best of her. So I completely understand that. And I think that you were talking about tightening the scope. It's also important, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you're trying new things, you have different ventures, to tighten your circle. You need a supportive circle and people who are going to celebrate you and what you're doing. You don't need haters. You don't need people, not just naysayers, but like we said, people who have no experience doing the things that we have done or are doing, who just, they essentially just want to have a say-so in your journey. They just want to become relevant with what you're trying to do as you are trying to not only being an entrepreneur and doing different things as Black people, are you breaking generational curses, and you are creating the next generation and motivating our kids. Mm-hmm. So one day they're like, oh yeah, dad had these businesses, he did this. And like you said, you're teaching your kids to be critical thinkers, and I'm doing the same thing. So through all of these things, it's like we are building the new generation, and we are essentially dispelling myths about how far we can go and how much we can achieve as Black people and as parents, Black parents, as a Black woman, as a Black man, with so many things coming against us.
I think it's, who said it? Nipsey. Y'all might have to quote me in the back or put this underneath the clip. Mm-hmm. But everybody can't go. Yes. At a certain point in your life, when you decide to do certain things, you'll realize, like you said, tighten your circle. Yep. It is definitely that kind of experience, because everybody can't go. Everybody's not ready to, take that journey with you in the way they can be supportive. Mm-hmm. And even in certain things, that I do, certain lifestyle changes that I've made, right. I don't want to force my lifestyle upon other people, mm-hmm. but at the same time, I'm not going to compromise the way that I'm changing for the better to be around other people who, may not be ready for that part of their right. lives. So everybody can't go. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think other thing is, we as people have to get out of the notion that, separating yourselves, meaning there's some kind of beef or, something's wrong, or are you hating, or you better than me. It's like, no, like, I have a certain bandwidth, a capacity of who I am as a person, physically, mm-hmm. mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I can only do a certain amount of things, a finite amount of things. So I need to really make sure that I'm intentional, that I'm allocating my time, my resources, and the things that I'm doing with people, around people who fit on, we call it seats on the bus, a seat on the bus. I don't have no extra seats on my bus. That's right. I got a very short yellow bus, and I got a finite amount of seats for a finite amount of people.
Yes. And that's how it should be. Mm-hmm. And y'all should know by now, Nipsey Hussle's my favorite rapper. I talk about it all the time. But yeah, circle getting smaller. Everybody can't go. That's what he said. And he also referenced how it's like a crab in the bucket syndrome. He said, as soon as you try to go up, people try and attach themselves to you and pull you back down with them. And people are scared that you're going to leave them behind. And it's not personal, because, again, it's like I can relate to that with certain things. It's like when people see you start to get a certain level of motion, as the kids are calling it these days, motion. And I've said it too, but it's like she's changing. Or you get you think you're too good for this, or you're not hanging out with me anymore. It's like, no, I literally have an assignment, a vision, a purpose. And I don't have time for certain things or certain people. It doesn't mean that they're bad, or even that the things are necessarily bad. They just don't fit with the journey I'm on now. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. Speak to me about not only the importance and assignment for you to empower Black people with your Our brand, also Black men, because I know you're passionate about that as well.
Yeah, Black men, we got a lot going on. Mm-hmm. We got a lot going on. This is probably the most advanced we have been as Black men, professionally, financially, in a lot of spaces. But it's also probably been the widest gap between, those that have and those that have not, those that have resources, those that have education, those that have housing, those that have parents and, two-parent households, and those who, may not have that. But I'm a firm believer that, and this maybe be a little bit old school, but, you want men to be like the head of the household. Mm-hmm. It's not to say women can't do things or, gender roles, nothing like that. But you want to have certain characteristics in a man that are head of the household, leaders in the community, and doing all those different pieces and parts that, I envision that help lift others up. Yes. And so, one of my things that I like to look at is, how can we support Black men? How can we provide space for Black men to really be vulnerable, to be able to release some of those feelings that may not be seen as manly or tough or whatever it is? Because at the end of the day,
I hate that stigma.
Yeah, that weight ain't gonna do nothing but hold you down. It ain't gonna. Yeah. You're gonna eventually crumble under that weight.
Weight broke the wagon.
And you can't evolve if you don't address some of those things. And so for me, just kind of looking across the spectrum, financially, professionally, spiritually, emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
health wise, how do we get men to a better place collectively? Because right now there's some that are doing it. They're doing it well. They may be doing it in a couple categories,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody needs help at some space. And then there's a lot of people where those gaps are a little bit more glaring. How do we pull those brothers up to where they could be? So that's a big thing that I like to work on is, how can we mobilize and uplift and create stronger men, which will in turn create a stronger community.
Where do you think it starts?
There's a lot of answers to that
Right.
question. I don't think everybody's at the same starting point. I think a big part of what it is like self-realization. You can't help anybody that's not willing to be helped. You
That
can only do
mindset.
so much. Yeah. And accountability and discipline, in whatever area of your life. You got to be disciplined in some area of something of your life to start to evolve. And so I tell people to take, little bite-sized parts of commitment and discipline. So whether some people say, I'm having a downtime, say, man, pick something and stick to it, whether it's working out, whether it's going to church, whether it's spending time with your kids, create some kind of consistency and something that is a positive in your routine.
Yes.
So like the same way people go to happy hour every Friday and do this and do that.
That's right.
Like, how can you change again? Use that bandwidth that you have and reallocate that time for something else and just kind of build on that. So now you're doing one thing consistently. Now you want to see what else you can tackle consistently. And so I think once we realize that, kind of really looking ourselves in the face and saying, what are my flaws? What are my strong points? Where do I have opportunities to grow? We'll get better.
Right.
And not beating other brothers up for not, necessarily being where they should be or where they could be. Yeah. I think that's the other place is being vulnerable, being able to help other guys out and not feeling like, again, crabs in the barrel, this person's hating on me, this person's looking at me sideways, blah, 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 blah. The question should be, I see you, I hear you, how can I help you?
Because the truth is, all men, but especially black men, need uplifted.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there is an issue with, everyone states they're this alpha male, but men need to know how to operate in both the masculine and feminine energy. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that if you are someone that's claiming to be this alpha male, that if you say feminine energy, oh, you're soft. That's not what it means. You should be able to be empathetic. You should be able to be passionate and show your emotions in your relationships and with your kids and all of these different things. And I just hate that it's such a huge stigma. And it's like you said, the vulnerability. A lot of black men have issues being vulnerable. And I understand a lot of that is certainly generational and it goes all the way back to slavery. But I just pray it gets better. And I think that black men like you that are walking your talk and passionate about it and doing different things to empower black people and empower black men, it's a great start.
It's a good start. But to your point, there's, and I may not call it feminine, but I think to be vulnerable is something that people have to understand is like being vulnerable does not make you weak. You do need to put some speed bumps on your vulnerability and protect yourself. But at the same time, you need to find safe spaces where you can be, vulnerable, and you need to have somebody that, supports that, from a partner standpoint, from a family standpoint, from a circle, loved ones, whatever it is, just kind of finding that tribe to be able to do that with.
Get out of my head, because I was literally about to say you need that safe space. Yeah. And like you said, within a relationship, within your family, within your friend group, even within your workplace or your organization or wherever you work or whatever you are involved in is very important. And not only in romantic relationships, like the saying, hurt people, if a man and a black man is afraid to be vulnerable because he doesn't want to be judged, he doesn't want to be seen as soft or not as strong, he should instead make sure that he has things and people placed around him that will remind him of his power. Because I understand y'all got a lot of weight on your shoulders as black men and having that expectation to lead the household. Not only that, to lead us as black people, like it's very difficult. I'm a double minority. I'm a black woman. You're a black man. So yes, it's hard for us out here, but we also hold a lot of power, and we need to remind each other of that more instead of tearing each other down or acting like there's competition amongst us. There is no competition. we need each other. We have to keep uplifting each other. And it is very important within the household. So with, heterosexual relationships, a man, a woman, you have a family, that nuclear family, that unit, you can't be barking and arguing at each other all the time because we are all in the struggle together. Mm-hmm. So it's important to have an environment that reminds you of your power at all times. And that goes both ways.
Very true.
Oh. So we are at the segment of this episode where we are going to do what's called firm and free. Okay? Firm and free. So how this goes is, what is something that you are firm on and what is something that you would like to be free from? So as an example, I'll go first. For me, something that I am firm on is understanding the power that I hold, the power that I carry, that not only I carry power because of my DNA and like how I was born, the family I was born into, my education, my life experiences, which has made me more powerful, more knowledgeable, having more information and resources. I'm powerful because of where I came from, because of our generation, because of our ancestors and all these different things. I'm firm on ever allowing that to be minimized by any person, any event, or any unfortunate situation in life. What I would like to be free from, I would like to be free from, I would just say, selling myself short in any capacity. And we're speaking on businesses and things of that nature. So while I have, put myself out there in regards to different ventures and businesses, we all have those times where we get a little insecure and it's like, can I do this? Yeah. Or it's like you hesitate. I have reservations. Don't do that. Trust yourself. So trusting myself even more with certain things, but also being aware and smart and realistic enough that it's going to take probably having some mentorship for certain things or coaches. It's going to take surrounding myself with the right people and putting myself in the right places and being patient because it's not overnight. Nothing happens overnight. Like you said, it can be years before you really have that motion that you want. And I'm fine with that. And I also would like to be free from trying to ever rush that process.
Yeah, I'm going to answer backwards. I know that's probably not how this is supposed to go.
It's not, but it's fine.
I think definitely the free from the doubt that we kind of put in ourselves. And not to say that you have all the answers, but a lot of times we know more than what we give ourselves credit for. And so kind of like, doubting our abilities, doubting whether these ideas that we have. Black people are some of the most remarkably creative people there are because we've always done more with less. And so just understanding the power that is in that and freeing ourselves of that doubt. I would say something that I'm very firm on, this probably crosses a number of different spectrums, is discipline and accountability. Discipline and accountability, discipline is the highest form of self-love to me.
That's right.
So your self-discipline is going to tell you who you really are because you're not doing it for nobody but yourself. And I have very little tolerance for people that have, lack of discipline, lack of accountability, and, make excuses. Excuses are tools of, finish the sentence for me, but that's just one of those things where I'm very much, as I get into my big old age, like I've got room for learning, but I don't have room for lack of discipline and lack of accountability. I just don't.
I'm with you on that. So we are going to wrap things up and end this episode how we end every episode with our mantra. I am powerful beyond measure. The things that I say, think, and do will reflect that. I know who I am. I own who I am. Thank you so much, Mar, for joining us today.
That's a finger snap right there.
I appreciate you, Marlon, and I appreciate everyone that's tuning in. And remember to stay firm on your foundation. Y'all have a blessed one.